Hey folks, this is Brian with an Elderath Session review. Um, this is our RQIII game modified with RQG implements. And sometimes there's conflicts between the rules, and you gotta pick one side or the other. Okay, so last time we ended at that dead end T thing with the mushrooms. Um, so we go back to the main tunnel we were in, going southwest. And the tunnel, the ceiling tunnel is a natural cavern, so this is shrinking down, so it's down 2.5 feet tall. So we're crawling, and there's a split north, and then it continues on southwest again. We continue southwest, and it narrows, and the height decreases some more at 2 feet. But Alexander rolls a crit on his scan, and he sees tracks of humans, crawling forward. So we decide, okay, let's keep going. After a bit, there's a drop off, about a 4-foot drop. So now we're at a little piece of cavern that is actually 6 feet tall. So we're just kind of in there. We head off to, well, from the south. There's a split in this little cavern. There's a split to the west and to the south. And as we check out the south, we see these beady red eyes, and out come zombie rats. But these aren't, regular zombie rats, right? These are the new undead zombie rats kind of thing, with the glowing red eyes, actually glowing. They're not just looking like. Raymond had to run his undead repulsions like 3 or 4 times before we finally got rid of these zombie rats. The first time we did it, I don't remember how, but some of them went away. And Wes is in the back and Runt is in the back. They each have a giant rat on them. And then Raymond had like 2 on him, and then Tindo had 1 or 2. But it's funny because Alexander, um, he rolls a 99 for something. And so he's trying to attack rats on Tindo, I believe it was. But he fumbled his attack roll, so ends up hitting Tindo. And then Runt and Wes actually critted on his scan roll and saw that Alexander's eyes are all glazed over. And Alexander's actually attacking Tindo. That stupid short sword, right? I didn't catch that he actually had pulled that sucker out, but he had. And after Raymond cast his repulsions the first time, some ran away. The rat that was on me and the rat that was on Runt turn and attack Raymond. And so there's all these rats on Raymond. And so Runt and Wes move forward trying to attack those rats. And Wes knows his rapier, it's not silvered, it's an edged weapon, so it doesn't do a whole lot of damage against these undead. So he tries kicking them. Kick does a d6 worth of damage. He's not trained in kicking, so he's got like a 27% chance, but he hit a rat with his kick like 4 times. It was great. First time he rolled a 22, and I know there's a 14 in there somewhere, and a 9. He was doing better with his kick than he had been doing with his rapier earlier. Oh, what a mess. But Raymond got 1 successful repulsions while this stuff is going on, and Tindo goes to tackle Alexander, to knock him down, get that sword on the hold on to keep from doing stuff. And so we have a little discussion. Oh, and that's all in the live play, which is in the description, by the way. So there's discussion on how do we do a football tackle, right? It's not really a knockback because you're grabbing onto them. It's not really grapple because you're knocking them down, that kind of thing, right? But Wes did fumble once when he was kicking his rat and lost 2 rounds of combat because of that. He kicked too high or hard and it swung around and fell down, kind of thing. And then Runt ends up going over and helping Tindo by, choking Alexander, choking him out. And once he's unconscious, and actually, did Wes try something then? I know Wes was thinking about trying to do something, doing a spell on Alexander to help, but he didn't. So, unconscious Alexander, still gripping the sword, so step on his arm, get a cloth, wrap the thing up, Runt takes it and puts it in his bag, and then we start dragging Alexander out. Once we get back to the second main passage that was going west, south, or west, northwest, the one that had the zombie in it, about 8 feet tall at the end. About that point, Alexander wakes up, and the first thing he asks is where his sword is. and Runt tries to distract him with stuff, but we end up walking on out. Hey, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Okay, once we get out, we report to Lieutenant Krim, and she goes over the historian Kesh, and okay, we found this. And Kesh looks at it. Ooh, this is a foul thing indeed. And he goes and gets a sword. He goes into his stuff, pulls out the special glove, comes out so we can handle this thing, and he casts a spell. It took him twice to cast the spell correctly, by the way. There's some sort of illusion on this sword, and its appearance physically changes from what we can see, and it becomes very wicked looking. I'm guessing like serrated edges kind of thing, all blackish, but it's got runes carved on the blade, and there's a inscription isn't the right word. There's an etching of an eye in the pommel. And at that, West turned away, not looking anymore. But they try to get Alexander, and Kesh tells Alexander to look at the sword. And, Alexander's trying to, but not. So he's like facing it, but his eyes are up or closed or something. And Krim gets a hold of him, throws him down, gets a couple of the guards. And while this is going on, Wes says, hey, let me help. And he tries suggestions, right? Look at the sword. Look at the sword. He cast it twice. First time was successful, but but Wes did not make the power versus power roll. And the second time was a failure. And at that point, says, Krim goes, guards! Open his eyes. Look at the sword. Once Alexander actually looks at the sword, he can feel there was a presence in it, and it had controlled him, and that kind of breaks the whole hold. And Kesh tells it that this sword creates undead. So we figure that's some of that first zombie we found, one with the stab in the back. That sort of done that. And somewhere along the line, it comes up that Tindo was in fact hit with this sword in the leg. And Kresh says, hey, well, let's take a look at it. And so Tindo shows him her leg, and we hear a gasp from Kesh. And Wes, gives Tindo her privacy and isn't looking, but I don't think anybody else really either, but it's all necrotic, right? So Kesh gets a wand and a potion and does his stuff, and all the necrotic flesh sloughs off of her leg. Gross. So we rest for a couple of days so that her leg can heal up, right? And then we go and ask for some, hey, do you guys have some extra shields and extra mains? Because West fights, with essentially Rapier and Mingao, right? Dual fencing kind of stuff. But has not been doing nothing to these undead. And so get a mace, get a shield so I can protect myself kind of stuff. And they've got those. There's some more discussion about that. I think some other people get some maces, that kind of deal. And then we go back in, and there's all this discussion about, untrained use of weapons, right? So a mace is a 15% base, and Wes has a 12% attack bonus. 27, which is the same for the kick, right? And he didn't have the strength for a heavy mace, so they give him a light mace, which is in RQ3 a D8, where a heavy mace is a D10, but an RQG does a D6 plus 2 and a D8 plus 2. So there's, which do we use kind of thing, right? Because it was mentioned earlier with the silver mace that Tindo had, because Tindo went down, got bit on the leg, or got hit with the sword, lost all the hit points of the leg and went down, and had dropped her mace, and so Raymond, during that fight back with the giant zombie rats, actually picked up her mace to use it, and we're trying to figure out how much does it do, what's his percentage with it, and all that kind of stuff. So all that kind of came out. But anyway, we get outfitted with stuff, go back in, and this time, right near the entrance, there was a passage north that we didn't check out. So we'll go check it out real quick. It's just a little break area kind of thing, right? There's a couple of carts in there and some shelves. So, main passage going south on the track, following the track. And at one point, both Runt and West will say, "Hey, we need to get a cart and just ride down." But there's no cart here. So we continue following it, and it goes, and it goes, and it goes. It's quite a ways. In fact, the thumbnail for the live play, I believe, shows most of that passage, if not all of it. But there's a mount. We get to a point where there's a mounted a body up on it, and Martin goes to check it out, and it's just a dead body. But it's pointing with its finger to the east. We're trying to out what's going on. So West does a search on the east wall. Now, the GM, in showing us the map, has taken away the black coverage that shows both sides. And we know for a fact there's nothing on the east wall because there's nothing beyond the wall, right? But West Plain, right? Hey, check out the west wall. Nothing there. So what's he pointing at? What's going on with that? We continue on, and we get to a part where it dips down. I believe it dips down, and there's a hole in the ceiling like a chimney. And so Runt goes and shines the light up there, and giant spider drops down on him. And we, there's a lot of discussion with the giant rat on hit locations because four-legged creatures have a different hit location chart than humans. It's very similar, but it's a little different. Of course, a giant spider is even more different. So GM asked if I had that handy. I actually did because I've been working on random encounters for my RQG game, and while there aren't any giant spiders, there's giant beetles and giant praying mantises. Giant praying manti. Troll trucks, they're called. So I grab my troll book, pull it out, and Wes just fires an overcharged firebolt. Extra 3 points, so it goes off strike rank 5. He's successful, does 7 points of damage, hit it in the head. Well, the thorax headpiece, right? Whatever it's called. That was enough to kill it. That was great. So, somebody cuts Runt out of the spider webs because it got wrapped up pretty quick. And there's a small chamber right. Well, the hole's right at the beginning of this chamber. And there's a small chamber, and it's got a number of bodies hanging from it. We cut them all down. They're all just miners, all desiccated. And we continue southwest, and there's like a dog leg south, and then opens up into a large cavern, going west southwest-ish, right? And so we're exploring this, and at the far end, to the northwest and to the south are these little tunnels. And in the middle, to the north, is another small cavern, and to the south, at the end, is a small cavern. Nothing in the cavern to the north. Discuss, okay, do we check out these little tunnels, or we go to this big chamber? We decide, let's go to the big chamber. And so Wes and Ron are actually in the front at this point because Wes was on that side. And going down, open up to a small chamber, and we get pelted with 6 arrows. Only one of them went at Wes, and He missed his dodge, but it went to his chest, which is covered with the shield. The shield covered his chest and abdomen, and the shield 5 points. That's getting through, and that's where we ended the session. Going, it's almost time for us to be done, and this is going to be a battle. And it's kind of funny because Runt was talking about, will tell us about. This reminds me of that goblin place we were in. And last thing we need is a bunch of goblins, right? And here we are outfitted with mixes that we can't use. Happy gaming.